So this is Hawthorn right here. Hello, Hawthorn.
Hello.
No, very nice, very different than the involucral Braxton's. This is a non-native Hawthorn. This is Crataegus monogyna. Monogyna means one seed. Gyna is like female part, one-seeded. And you can call it one-seeded Hawthorn. But there's lots of hybridizations amongst the Hawthorn. You're welcome to come on in. There's some space over in here. I'm going to talk about it at this level, though. I don't want to talk too much louder. It's pretty easy to tell. This has more lobes than any of the other Hawthorns on the leaf. And this is a really, this is a little one. They get like that size right there. That's not one, but they get bigger. They make red fruits. And so where I'm from, Hawthorns are native and there's non-natives and they hybridize and only experts tell them apart. But I use them all, so I use all Hawthorns. The part that I use are the flowers with some leaves sometimes attached to them. So I use the flowers as the main medicine. A lot of people use the fruits, but the flowers just show up in all studies as stronger. So I'd recommend gathering the flowers of Hawthorn if you can. They're pretty, about the same easy to gather as the fruits. They're just hard to gather because of thorns, but the flowers you could just actually pick off big bundles. You have to realize that when you're gathering the flowers of a plant, then it's not going to fruit. But some of these are, where I'm from, it's just these are weedy, pervasive plants, and I'm just not really worried about decimating them by taking the flowers. There's always wildcrafting ethics involved, right? But with Hawthorn, I haven't reached that point yet. And so they attract, it's funny, the fruits attract a lot of different rusts. Rusts are kind of fungi, and that kind of makes it harder also to gather the fruits. Anybody see that in their fruits here? They get the fungi that like it's an intermediate fungi. So the flower is my favorite part for medicine, and I would say that it's a relatively safe cardiotonic. So I'm not going to, probably everybody here knows a little bit about Hawthorn, but for most people who just seem to have cardiac insufficiency, maybe a little edema going on, or even high blood pressure, any place where it's not just the blood vessels, but the heart is involved and not pumping as well, I suggest Hawthorn. And some of the reasons is, first, I've given lots and lots and lots of Hawthorn medicine over the years, and I don't know if I've ever seen a negative side effect. By the way, the flowers don't taste as good as the fruit. So, secondly, for some people, it seems to help a lot. So I give it to a lot of the patients. So the problem is that people come in to your clinics, right, to our clinics, and they say, I want to stop my beta blockers, I want to stop my ACE inhibitors, I want to stop all my drugs, I want to stop my statins. Can I just take Hawthorn? The answer is no. You have to think about what's wrong with you, and then you have to work from that point of view. They can, but I'm certainly not going to recommend it. So before I go into uses, I want to come back into how to make it. So how I make Hawthorn is that I gather the flowers in spring and I tincture them about 1 to 2, 95% when they're very fresh. As soon as possible, I jam them in a jar. So I have a big jar, I add 95, I pump it down, I add more, I pump the flowers down, so it's really compact. The flowers are very compact in the jar. Otherwise, they just take up a lot of room and float to the top. I'm not really sure what it comes out to, maybe 1 to 2, 1 to 2.5. 95% though, fresh flowers. Then comes fall. Good luck getting through here. Then maybe somebody can get you a little boat. So we got a wheel. We got a carriage coming through.
Say hi, Owen.
Hi, Owen. One time I was in Bolt, but this is getting better. One time I was giving a plant walk in Boulder on that path where everybody goes on their whatever fast thing they go on. That was just tricky because I was just, bicycles and skateboards and, roller whatevers, All right, so then I gather the fruits in fall and I tincture them 1 to 1, 95%. So I gather the fruits, fresh fruits in fall, right now. And I put them in a jar and I just mash them and I add alcohol and I add a plunger and I just squish them. So it comes out to about 1 to 1. And then I do half and half. Half fruit, half flower tincture. Partly just tastes better. one of the reasons that you see the fruits and not the flower in commerce is the flower doesn't last at all. Like if you dry it, maybe you got a couple of weeks, maybe 2 months, but the flower is really ephemeral. Once you gather it, it just starts breaking down. A lot of plants, by the way, are like that. The best part is not in commerce because the best part of the plant just doesn't hold its chemistry. And so we have plant parts that work, but not as well as other parts, right? This is just what happens in commerce. So that's how I make the tincture. And I give it to anybody if I think that they need some kind of myocardiocyte tonic. I think that their heart muscle cells are not functioning or under-functioning, and I'll just give it to them. Or if they just had long-term high blood pressure, I just give it to lots and lots of people because cardiovascular health is a major issue in the United States. Now, if it's the blood vessels, I'm probably going to add something else. Like if they have weak blood vessels with edema. So if they have edema, you have to make sure that they don't have heart failure. So there's a lot going on here, right? If somebody has edema where fluid builds up in their body and their heart is functioning all right, it's their blood vessels that are the problem. I still might give Hawthorn, but then I'm going to give one or two of my favorite cardiovascular tonics. And they're going to be, Collinsonia stone root and horse chestnut. They are really useful. I really suggest getting to know horse chestnut and stone root because it really helps with just cardiovascular leakage and edema when it's not especially the heart and its pumping facility. Does that make sense? I use a lot of it, especially horse chestnut. It just really helps tighten the fragility of veins. It helps veins bring fluid back to the heart. So it doesn't help the pumping mechanism, it just makes them better carrier agents.
Does it matter on the species of horse chestnut?
I only use Aesculus hypocastanum, and I don't really, I think it does. I've been around lots of horse chestnuts and buckeyes, and they taste really different. And so I only use the European one, which is occasionally weedy in the Northeast. And that's where I gather it from. But I would check other sources. There's no historical relevance, but heart disease is kind of modern anyway, the amounts that it is. So it's hard to tell. So that was asked. So the horse chestnut I use is Aesculus hypocastanum, which is the European horse chestnut, which people plant around me, and it's in the woods, and you find it around the old farms. And you don't need a lot of it to make good medicine.
What part of the plant?
I'm using the nut in the hull. Like they have these kind of very spiny hulls, and it has 2 or 3 seeds on the inside. That's what I'm using. Technically called a testy, those parts in the middle. What's that? No, just the nuts in the inside. The shiny parts that are really, a lot of people like to have as charms.